Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
And you're listening to Live from the Path, coming from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper.
Yeah.
It was necessary to be done.
I don't know. It's the two of us, so I felt like I really had to come in strong.
No, yeah, I think that was the right thing to do. All right, I hope over the last few weeks that you've been enjoying the back catalog of Live from the Path. Just know, if you're a fan of the show, I'm continuing to backfill. Every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever, I might be released 2 to 3 episodes.
Oh,
and so if you haven't listened to Live from the Path lately, you just have not listened to Live from the Path. Go ahead and refresh the podcast and scroll all the way down to the bottom or the top, depending on how you have it sorted, and look for the old hits. In fact, I was listening to one on the way here today about Operation Christmas Child, where we are under the impression that they're ripping. The deal actually was an interesting conversation. I'd kind of forgotten about this, but so when you do Operation Christmas Child, you send the boxes over there.
Yep.
But then, the churches that the boxes are going to distribute them have to pay.
Oh, really?
It's not free. It doesn't get all the way to them. They have to pay for
postage,
in-country shipping.
Oh, okay.
So for some churches, it could be $5 a box, $7 a box.
Oh, that sucks.
Right, and you think you're because you pay for shipping here,
right?
You're like, it gets right to the door of the lovely Namibian child who needs it. But no, it gets held up at the airport till someone comes and picks it up.
Hey, man, that happens in a lot of countries to where, they'll get extorted at the airport, too. Like, if the government's pretty rough in the area, they'll be shaken down for that kind of stuff, too.
Right.
So, oh, boy.
I don't like it.
I don't like that at all. Should you, slap a 5 on the outside of the box?
That's what I'm saying, is that, if someone said, look, you give an extra $2, it'll get to its place in country.
Right.
I'd give it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, it was an interesting conversation. I don't remember what it was called.
All right, here's the deal, though.
Oh, Operation Christmas Trouble. That's what the episode's called.
Yeah, that was real quippy. All right, I've been on the show since I was 18 years old.
18, let's have it, yeah.
If you find yourself in this back catalog,
yeah.
and I have said something stupid, 1, nothing has changed. And 2, I can only apologize. I can't change what's happened. I was a fool and still am in many ways. I'm maturing, thankfully, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I've said. If you find yourself listening to something that's particularly offensive, I apologize for my younger self. I did not have good ideas, and I also did not have a filter to stop myself from talking. And the good Lord made it to where I was on a recorded podcast since I was barely an adult. And so, oh boy, I apologize that all that stuff is out in the interwebs and I cannot take it back.
Yeah. I mean, it's understandable. All right,
man.
Here's what we got going on the show today. Boova, you've got a couple Ask the Pastors.
Yes. Yeah, I got a couple things that have happened in my reading over the last couple of weeks. These ones are more possibly funny than me trying to really figure things out. But I just every once in a while I find myself in a place where I caution myself to not read my Bible too quickly.
Yeah,
because it's sometimes easy, especially if you find yourself in a place where you feel like it's difficult to get passionate about the things that the Lord is saying. Because you're either confused or it's that kind of day, kind of situation or whatever.
Yep.
I have to stop myself and go, okay, did I just read something too quickly? Because that hit me weird.
That's wild.
And do I need to take a step back and look at that? And then sometimes I read something and I go, I know that I've read this book before. How did I not notice that the first time? How did I not pay attention to that the first time? And that's been a couple things that have happened this week. So
okay, all right. So we'll hit some Ask the Pastor. I don't know. I looked at a couple articles. Maybe we'll get to them. Maybe we don't.
We should do a quiz.
Maybe we will do a quiz.
We haven't done a quiz in a long time. We'll see how it'll basically be you having the right answer and then me going, no, I think that's over here. And then you just put in what you do and then it'll be the right answer.
Oh, man. Okay.
We should do a really hard quiz together.
Okay. All right. I'm going to find a quiz.
Yeah, we're going to do a really hard quiz together to see if Ben and I can answer better than at least the 9% of Christians that probably got this thing right.
Yeah. Okay. We'll
Yes.
do that. I had newest quizzes. How old are these?
I was gonna say, they're still putting quizzes out?
I mean, have I ever shown you this
I think I've seen the website.
quiz?
Is it like a WordPress website that's pretty rough?
Yeah. Okay. The last updated quiz was 2008,
Oh, geez.
and the quiz was titled Abishag
Abishag.
from Women in the Bible. There's a whole quiz on Abishag.
Abishag?
Wow.
Who is that?
Isn't that
I know Abishag.
no It's a lady.
Abishag. What book?
Okay, hold on. We'll just look her up real quick. Just to
We'll do some pretest. Pretest at least get context into where she's at.
I thought that was the name of with David.
His second lady?
Let's see. A beautiful young woman of Shunem, chosen to be a helper and servant to King David in his old age.
Oh.
Among her duties was to lie next to David and pass on her body heat.
Yeah, the lady blanket.
Yeah, that's right.
Is
That's
that where
right.
we get shag carpet from?
Definitely.
Shag blanket?
Definitely. I have no idea. Okay, maybe we better not take that one.
Oh, no, that's going to be rough.
Okay, but we'll skip that.
Okay.
I got, and just real quick, I'm going to share just a God story. So we were on vacation, my family and I, for the last, a couple of weeks, which is super interesting. I don't recall ever being on vacation for that long.
Right.
Like that's been a long time to be away. And it was, generally speaking, pretty good. As tends to happen, my wife and I kind of fought for a few days because you get driving a car for a long time.
Yep.
Figure out a time to have all the conversations you haven't had time to have in your house with 4 kids.
Oh, boy.
And then you find out that you just disagree on things.
Oh, no.
So some of that was my fault, frankly. And so
Okay.
anyway, we get to it all. It gets settled down. But like the whole time, my wife has been kind of praying, "Hey, we're going to be out and about." And like, there's just something about going on vacation. We drove, we took our car, we drove everywhere. We stayed mostly in hotels that I had points for from having traveled for work. Boy, we got hosed on a couple of them though. Like, it's Columbus Day. It was over Columbus Day, and everybody's in the Northeast to look at the leaf colors, right?
Oh, right.
And so, didn't know where we were going to be on like the Friday night and the Saturday night before Columbus Day.
Right.
And so because we didn't know, I couldn't pre-book the hotels. And so
okay.
now we're searching around and like there is nothing available. And I think I ended up paying, $300 or something for a hotel that should have cost $110.
Oh, no.
And it was either one of those or like just a real roach motel.
Oh, no.
I was looking so much. I was looking for, our family's too big to do most like Airbnbs.
Yep.
Or things that would be cheap or anything.
Yeah.
And like, I got in my mind, I'm just going to rent an RV for a night. Like, I'm not going to travel in it.
No.
I'll just rent it.
Yeah.
Go park in the Walmart and like sleep there.
Yeah,
and then bring it back.
exactly. Yeah.
And so it didn't work out because
I was gonna say it didn't work.
Most of those were rented out. The price was right. Like you could have done it for like $70.
I would have thought nobody else would have thought of that, actually.
I think people legitimately had rented the RV.
Oh, okay.
I'm the only guy
not
looking
to like
for it
pick
for
up,
like a
drive to
day.
Walmart, drop it back off.
Right.
Okay.
So anyway, my wife had been praying kind of the whole time. Like it feels I'm trying to look for the right word, and not elitist, but like, not everybody gets to be gone away from their job and life. Like we homeschool, so like it wasn't a school problem, but like, not everybody gets to be gone for 2 weeks or roughly, And like I said, it wasn't particularly luxurious. We were in Fairfields, the middle, and driving our car around. Everyone's stuffed in there, just looking at trees and hiking and things. But whatever, it does feel self-centered.
Yeah, I get that.
And so anyway, my wife had been praying the whole time, said, look, this just help us to have our eyes open in case, is there anything that we can be about? But outside of everyday stuff, hey, we're nice to people, we pray for people, blah, blah, blah. Right. But help us not to miss anything that God has going on around us simply because we're out here doing something that we plan focused on ourselves.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we get to the last day that we're there, and I wake up the night before. I pulled in a hotel, and all of a sudden there's like weird chunk under the car, conk, conk, when I hit the brake. I'm like, the brake system is not super complicated,
right?
And I frankly had just changed the lower control arm on both sides of the front of the vehicle, so I've had this whole wheel assembly apart, brakes and calipers included. And I thought, okay, well, this kind of makes sense. I'm just poor at what I do, possibly. But it turned out that there was something wrong with the car, the brake system. There was a bolt that had like worked its way out. Mm-hmm. But luckily, this thing had happened before on this same car, like 3 years ago. Whatever this bolt is, I'm either bad at it or it's stubborn or both.
Yeah.
And so, luckily, I think to myself, well, I need to get to the auto parts store. I got to go get another bolt. And I thought, well, I'll do an Uber. I tried to limp this thing, like I'm going to drive it over there. That failed.
Yeah.
It's making a lot of weird noises and probably would have broken worse. But like, so I
right.
get a hold of an Uber. Dude comes up. His name's James.
Okay.
James comes to pick me up, and I'm not chatty. Like, I'm not a chatty people man. Like I'd get in the car and just sit there in silence, and it would have been totally fine.
Yeah.
But I thought like, I should talk to him. So that's what I do. And I talk to him. He's like an older gentleman, and he'd only been doing Uber for like a month. Worked at a plastics factory and was just trying to pick up some extra money. So talking to him, we get to the place, and he goes, look, if you I'll hang around so you can get back.
Oh, nice.
I said, oh, that's cool, man. Which was double cool, frankly, because I went in there and I ended up having to buy tools that I have.
Oh, gosh.
But because I'm in Ohio and not Iowa, I got to rebuy freaking tools from the auto parts store, which are expensive.
Right.
So anyway, I get back in, and he starts taking me back, and like it's in the back of my mind. I'm like, you're supposed to pray with James. You should pray with James.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. What am I gonna
do? I have to
like right now? Like, Lord, guide his wheel. So anyway, I just like, and we're talking, and he lost a daughter a couple years ago, was getting ready to travel with he's got grandchildren, and they were going to go to Tennessee, and like I thought, okay, I think I'm supposed to pray with James, but in my mind I'm worrying about it because again, not a small conversational man, and so I'm like, what am I going to say? He's like, James, I really feel like I'm supposed to pray with you. Do you mind if I do that? I thought, okay, yeah, maybe that's what I'll say.
Yeah.
So he pulls up to drops me off at the hotel, and just as like we're 20 feet away from the door, he starts talking, and he goes, okay, we're here. I just need to tell you, God bless you, brother. And I hope your travels are successcul. And I thought, wow, like God help me out here, because I knew I was supposed to pray with this man.
Yeah.
And I'm tied up in my mind about how I'm going to start a conversation that I'm not very good at starting.
Right.
And he has the man just lead with, I'm just going to tell you, God bless you, brother. And then so I said, James, I'm so glad you said that, because I got a very clear feeling that I'm supposed to pray with you. Do you mind if we do that? And he said, that would be great. He pulls up like another 10 feet past the door, turns around. We hold hands, just a couple of fellas in the car praying. I prayed for our upcoming travels and travel for him and time with his grandkids and his blessing on his Ubering or whatever.
Wow. And
we got out of the car. Now, here's the thing. It's pretty run-of-the-mill situation. But I will tell you this. Part of the reason that I think it was on my mind is I was listening for it. My wife had been praying for this. We had talked about it just like
absolutely
when the car wasn't the thing happened with the car. It's kind of a goofball thing to happen. But by the way, we went back in after I figured out the car was broken. I said, hey, you guys can just go back inside. You don't need to sit out here in the car. It's probably going to be an hour by the time I get a part and get it fixed or whatever. So the wife and kids go back inside, and she had left her wedding ring in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
And so we would have drove, if the car was working fine.
We would have left.
Yep, we would have just drove away.
Oh my gosh.
Like, our wedding ring was there. And like she goes, before I'd gone and called the Uber or whatever, she goes, I wonder if we're just here for a reason. Like, so we're supposed to meet somebody or talk to somebody. And so the important part for me was there were two. The first one was, you tend to see God move when you're looking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And God is moving. And the question is am I looking? And like there was a part of me when my wife's talking a bit, this doesn't bother her at all. But for me, I'm like, oh, run into somebody. What am I going to say?
Right.
I can all day. I can handle people asking me Bible questions to ask me, but like, how do I understand this passage of the Bible? Like, I'm good at this. I'm comfortable.
Right.
Like, or even conversations where I'm giving like counseling or helping people through kind of rough parts of life. It feels like my role is called for as a pastor.
Yeah.
And so I'm even comfortable there, no problem. But like rando situations throughout the day of which I'm the instigator of conversations. This is not my normal. This is out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing's just making me nervous. My wife's all ready for it, like looking for people. Like maybe we should talk to the lady at the front desk. Maybe she needs to do this. And so, but anyway, I was looking for it.
Yeah.
And God gave like a very clear place. It felt like a very clear place in which I was supposed to do something. And that was the second thing, is where I was nervous about it and where I'm like, oh man, what am I looking for something that's not there? Am I reaching or whatever?
Right.
My Father who loves me sends me a bridge. He has the man that I was going to offer to pray for make it very easy by revealing to me that he's a Jesus man and he was going to bless me. I'm going to bless him. He's going to bless me first, And so what does it do is it prepares me for next time, right? So that I know this seems weird, right? I'm a pastor. With a bunch of other dudes, we host a Christian radio show. It's the things that tie me up.
Yep, right.
It's weird the people, like the situations I've been in, the rooms I've been in, the levels of people in society that I've talked to. This is the kind of thing that gets me. And my Father loves me, and he says, "Let me just make this one easier on you." James is going to say, "God bless you," and let's get one under the belt.
That's awesome.
So anyway, I just sharing in case that's helpful for yourself, is that like, hey man, these things aren't happening to me. I like where are people finding these opportunities to talk and meet with people and whatever, do the work of Jesus in everyday life. One, if you're looking for it, you'll find it.
Yeah,
like it's there. God's moving, and second of all, like where you've got your own human barriers that are keeping you from doing some things, like God loves you too. And this is something that we've talked about on the show many times, is that like I do believe that God will bless your intent. Like the thing that you want to do in spite of your human frailties and fallibilities. If your heart is in the right spot, you're wanting to do something for Jesus, he will find a way to meet you in that and to help you get to see the things. Because, like, frankly, we're not going to in fact, all the things that God is accomplishing is through those same means.
Right.
Fallible human intent meets the will of the Lord, his love for you and love for the things that you're trying to do. He's going to meet you and go do those things. And so just be open to it and don't be worried about what you perceive to be your own shortcomings.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that. Gosh, I feel like I have those kind of thoughts all the time, and I get in my own way because I'm like, I'm trying to do the things that I'm focused on.
Yeah.
Like I'll find myself in a place where like I'm going to church and I see somebody and I get that like gut of my heart feeling where I'm like, I need to go pray with them or talk to them about something or make sure they're okay. And then I'm like, I'm on my way to something else, so I'm not going to stop. I got to go do that thing. And I'm like, dang it, that's the exact opposite of what I should do.
Yeah.
Like I'm literally going to try and be holy to myself somewhere else. And I possibly have the, spidey senses tingling where it's like, hey, that's a person. Go check on them and make sure they're taken care of.
Yep.
And I'm like, nope, on my way to church, or I'm on my way to the show, or I'm on my way to youth group. Can't be interrupted. I got to get there, man.
Right.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's totally cool to like be conscientious of those kind of things and then just go, all right, God, you got to handle this and make it happen because I'm frail and weird.
Yep.
And I'm going to be in my thoughts about it.
Yep. And we've talked before about it occurred to me maybe yesterday. I thought like this is one of the things I want to make sure I'll forget this. I'll forget this in 3 months. I'll have forgotten James, and I'll have forgotten that the Lord was with me.
Yep.
And that he allowed my open eyes to do something for him, of which I'm blessed. And so like this is an altar item for me. Like
I was going to say, Ebenezer.
We do rocks and sticks. Mm-hmm. Rocks are the really big ones. Sticks are the lovely everyday reminders that God is here. And so cool. I gotta the cats have been they really messed up our altar. And so they've been scratching at it. It seems real weird.
The cats have been messing up our altar.
They've been bothering with it.
The cats have been at our altar.
I get up in the morning, I'll come downstairs, friggin' cat's like stretching on it. Scratch.
It's like, get off that altar.
There's shards of altar on the ground. The stupid cats are in there.
Oh gosh, that's great.
It up.
The cats have been at our altar.
I have to repair it.
It's interesting. I had a similar experience this last week. I was teaching on Sunday for church, and I was at a coffee shop, and I didn't bring in a laptop or anything. I literally just had my Bible, and I had two like monster commentaries on Matthew. These books are huge, like 1,000 pages each, and so. I mean, I look real scholarly. Yeah. Like I look studious. I've got these 3 enormous books open. I'm reading them out, and there's this young guy that's in front of me in a booth, and this is actually last week. Excuse me, not this 2 days ago or yesterday. This young guy in front of me, and he's got headphones in, and like I glance, like I can just see past his shoulder at one point in time, and he's got like his iPad up, and he's studying like immunology or something.
Yeah.
And is going through like the statistics of an immunology study, and college level kind of stuff, whatever. And I've been sitting here for maybe 2 hours. He's probably been sitting there for an hour and a half.
Yep.
And then out of nowhere, I see this dude like take his headphone out, and he turns around and looks at me. And he goes, "Hey, man, what are you studying?" And like I just well up, and I'm like super pumped, and I'm like, "Actually, I'm teaching church this Sunday, and I'm reading in Matthew." And I'm thinking, what a cool opportunity this is going to be. The God's like, "Hey, man, like I'm sending someone to you. You're doing this work for church on Sunday, but like you're in the world right now. Take advantage of it."
Right.
And I go, I'm studying for church this Sunday. I'm teaching on Matthew." And he goes, "Oh." And he puts his headphone back in, and he turns back around. and like just flat out pays me no more attention, because he's like, oh, because he's thinking I'm going to be able to talk to him about like I'm studying, engineering, or I'm studying like microbiology, and here's what I know about lysosomes now. I tell him I'm studying my Bible, and he just like, oh, turns back around, throws his headphone in.
That is awesome.
I could not stop laughing in my head. I'm like, what a great like moment for me to think, man, I'm being really holy right now. Like I'm ready to teach this weekend at church, and I'm super pumped to be out in the world and people see me, and they're like jumping in on this. And no, this guy wants nothing to do with the fact that I'm teaching at church. He's like, nah, I could care less about that. Like that's great.
It's a real crapshoot, some of this stuff. I believe at the same I was at the Smoky Row downtown.
Yeah.
So, and like I ran into a guy. His name was Alex. I remember that. And he came by. I'd been studying there for 3 hours or something. And he acts real interested. He says, "Man, what are you looking at?" I said, "Well, I'm studying whatever the Bible book was at the time." And he goes, "Wow, like I really love to talk more with you about this." I'm like, "Wow, that's like this doesn't happen."
Yeah, right.
It's like coming out of a movie. And so I get the guy's phone number, and we text a little bit, and he works there. And so I figured out we meet up like, I don't know, 2 weeks later, because he wants to talk more about the Bible.
Right, yeah.
He shows up, and he's prepared something.
Oh, no.
He didn't want to talk to me where like he had Bible questions or whatever. He wanted to teach me about the book of Daniel. And so I'll be honest with you, man, I didn't see this part coming.
I thought you were going to have questions for me. And he's like, "Hey, let's talk about Nebuchadnezzar's visions."
Yeah. And
or dreams.
It was the most awkward, I don't know, hour and 20 minutes I spent. Like
an hour and 20 minutes.
He's sitting here just wailing off, and like he's got bulleted list. And he's talking to me like he didn't meet me studying actively the scriptures. He's talking to me like I've never heard any of this stuff in my life.
You're his missional field.
I'm like, no, I mean, whatever. Maybe I'm his James in the Uber. Where like God's like, let me give you a freebie.
Oh gosh.
But like, it's such an odd thing because he's saying this stuff, and there's rudimentary like Bible things, and I'm like, yeah, that's right, right on, that's great, amen, whatever. What other Christian thing do I say here? I've heard
preach it, brother.
A couple different, and like, but he wasn't even saying something. Because I thought, like, I remember being in the conversation, and I thought, you know all these things, but like maybe this is to get out some arrogance that you have. Like, who cares whether you know it already? Like, the Lord may be moving, so just be open to whatever the man's saying. And for the life of me, I could not. I did not attach to anything where I'm like, boy, yeah, that really got me. It's like, yeah, he was Babylon, totally agreed. Like they were facts.
Yep, exactly.
And then he ended up like it was some sort of Daniel Revelation connection. I said, look, man, this is going to seem
bringing out apocalyptic writing on you.
I literally just taught this stuff like 6 months ago, and what you're saying is not right. But I don't really want to argue with you about it because like it took some stones to bring a man in here and teach him Daniel. I've said, like, is this where you start with everybody, Daniel?
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, what a weird way to start this. It's like, hey, you don't know anything about the Lord. Let me tell you about a time that he saved somebody from King Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah. And then interpreted some weird dreams. And then Nebuchadnezzar ends up being a beast of the field and gets the dew of the morning on him and stuff like that.
Now, that's great. If I remember correctly, like, he was a beast, and that could be us. I'm like, I don't
What?
Listen.
It was very specifically you will see yourself as a tree, and you are a really great kingdom in the kingdoms of men, but I will make you lowly.
Yeah.
And like as a punishment for what you've done, you will run for 7 times or 7 periods of time as a beast of the field.
Yeah. I don't
know if that was a call for everybody on that one.
Right.
Or just a Nebuchadnezzar situation.
So here's the thing. I'd be interested, complaint line 515-517-0085, call or text. Like, what are your stories?
Yes.
On either direction. I'd love to hear from, hey, you took a shot and prayed with somebody, or like you knew you were supposed to talk to somebody and you actually did it.
Yeah.
Or you chickened out.
Failed.
Like, it's I've done it.
Uh-huh.
Or I'm interested, has anybody tried to proselytize to you? You were already a follower of Jesus.
Hey, is that a Bible? Let me tell you about Matthew.
I mean, like, it just... Or like maybe you didn't have your scriptures with you and they came up and they tried to sell you on Jesus. And even though you told them that you were a follower of Jesus, they persisted like they didn't understand what you said.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that so much.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh. Hey, actually, that reminds me of a question in Daniel. This may be a third Ask the Pastor.
Okay.
So Daniel's exiled and is like in the palace of King Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
He gets the new name Belteshazzar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego get Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That is their Babylonian names.
Yep.
Why then do we have the rest of the narrative? Most of the time, Daniel is then reverted back to be referred to as Daniel, but we continue to refer to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego as their Babylonian exiled names throughout the entire book. Like, why does Daniel get to go back to his Israelite name throughout the narrative, but the other 3 don't? Because their names were like Azazel and Azael, something like that, and then I can't remember the other 2, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it could be author's choice. Like the book. Like I wonder if, because Daniel's the key character,
right? Yes,
and
tying narratively, you would tie him back to his roots.
Yeah, you would. Well, if the book is designed to point you back, it's the same. Daniel's the same thing in the Book of Revelation, right? Like it's designed to help a people who feel like God may have abandoned them,
still there,
right? To be reminded that He did not.
Yep. And God was not a geographic God in a location that was pre-exile. He's still with you, even if you have been exiled, literally by His allowance. Yes. To the land that you're in.
Or effort. I sent my man. I sent Darius.
Literally, yes.
I did it.
I send Nebuchadnezzar against you.
Yes.
Because you suck.
Yeah. And so, if you're telling the story as a Jew and you're trying to remember it as the people of Israel, like you're going to remember the Israelite name. Yeah. And so I think the 3 bros are limited to a single chapter, like what we would call a chapter in the story, right?
Yeah, you get their introduction alongside Daniel as one of the kids that get taken into Nebuchadnezzar's like kingdom, or his court, I should say. Yeah. Then you get them being thrown into the furnace, but then saved. Yeah, so that's all you get of those 3.
It's less of a point of confusion. They have a limited role.
Okay.
It's probably because within the context of Nebuchadnezzar, they may be using Daniel's Babylonian given name,
right?
But everywhere else he's Daniel, and so you risk a confusion, whereas you don't necessarily probably with the other.
Okay, fair enough. I never realized that. Like I said, sometimes I read my Bible too fast, and this last time I was going through Daniel, I was looking at it, I'm like, wait a minute, okay, so Daniel was Belteshazzar, whatever, and then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were their like Babylonian names, and then they never revert back in the story to their Hebrew names. So, okay, fair enough.
All right, well, we're doing Ask the Pastors. Wait, you had a couple more.
Yeah, I did. So I've moved my way on into some of the major or the minor prophets now, but I was reading through Ezekiel a week and a half ago maybe, and I was taking it 5 chapters at a time, and Ezekiel has some thick chapters, like we're like 70 verses at a time. Like there's a lot happening. Yep. And as you get later on into Ezekiel, there's 48 chapters total. In chapter 39, you have had up to this point, there have been some like visualizations and dreams that Ezekiel has been privy to. Like the Lord took him to the throne room where he saw the 4 beasts in the very first couple of chapters, and the beasts that were attached to, the beasts and the cherubim were attached to the wheels, and that was all imagery that was being talked about. But then you've got chapters where it literally just is the Lord gave, Ezekiel a word for his people, or a word against a kingdom or a group of people.
Yep.
So you've got, in Ezekiel 39, you've got him against, I believe it's Gog.
Prophesy against Gog.
Yeah, prophesy against Gog at the beginning of 39. Goes through this prophesy against the chief priest or whatever he was, the chief prince, I think.
I love it too. Like, tell Gog, I'm against you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like flat out
clear.
Go to Gog, tell him, I'm against you now.
Yep.
But then there's this interesting narrative flip that happens in verse 17, where it turns from Gog to the Lord tells Ezekiel to talk to a different group of things. And so in verse 17, and I'm trying not to laugh at it because obviously it's not a funny situation, but it was interesting to me as I slowed down. So in Ezekiel 39, starting in verse 17, you've got, as for you, son of man, thus says the Lord, speak to the birds of every sort and to all beasts of the field. Assemble and come, gather from all around to the sacrificial feast. And it goes on to be kind of heavy. But it was interesting to me because he's literally saying to Ezekiel, who is a prophet meant to be from the mouth of the Lord, that I'm giving you these words, go and speak to X. We've had many prophets up to this point that have done this all the way back to even in the first 5 books of the Bible, you have prophets that are speaking and priests that are talking, stuff like that.
Yep.
You've got this book of Ezekiel where his whole life is being told and called. He's in exile in the beginning when he's first called. And so God says, talk to Gog, tell him I'm against him. And then the flip is, but also tell the birds in the area and the beasts in the area that I am laying out a feast for you. Mm-hmm. One, that's odd to me, just because in the realm of existence, I don't believe that this is impossible. I don't think that God would not be able to speak to his creation. Obviously, we've got many situations in which creation cries out for the Lord. They know of him. They know of their creator. Yep. That's not new things for us. Yep. But it just threw me, it's such an interesting thing to hear. Go and tell my creatures, the birds of the air and the beasts of the field, that I'm laying out for them a feast. And it is vicious and violent. He's I will crush this enemy, and then I will lay this army dead before my creatures as a feast.
Right.
I bring sustenance to my creatures through the destruction of my enemies. But what? That's crazy to me that that's a conversation. Is there any other precedence for this kind of thing, interaction with animals, where it's the Lord is giving a command to animals? Is this a fairly... Well, I should say there's plenty of situations in which the Lord's command animals, but this seems like a very isolated narrative thing where God is speaking through a prophet to something other than humans and creation and angels. It threw me off a little bit because from what I understand, this is meant to be a real thing. This is not a vision, I don't believe. I may be wrong on that. But from context, it doesn't seem like it is.
No, I don't think it is. So I think there's a couple things that are in play there. We do see, I think back to the book of Jonah, where there is a call to repentance to Nineveh, and their reaction is to put sackcloth and ashes, and they put sackcloth on the animals.
Right. Yes.
And so just the first thing that jumped to mind. And so I do think that there is a shallowness to maybe sometimes how we think about the world. It's from a very human perspective.
Right.
But
very us-centered.
Right. Now, if we believe thoughtfully that creation groans, has some sort of prescience to groan for something, an awareness of what God created something to be, perhaps not an articulation of it, but God's creation is aware that it is not running how it is supposed to run.
Right. Yes.
Then it does. Actually, we talked about this on the show once. There was a conversation about God may be doing business with a rabbit. Do you remember that?
Doing business with a rabbit? Pops a bell and very far back in my brain.
Gosh, I wish I could remember the conversation. But it was around this very type of thing that we think about God interacting with humans, but God doing business with his whole creation.
Absolutely, yes.
And we do have him sending different parts of his creation, causing wind to blow, causing trees to move, and give fruit and whatever. And so I think it's not out of place from the grand narrative for God to otherwise interact with his creation outside of humans.
Got it.
Now, where it is unique, or at least seems unique to me, is it's like that the human prophet is
Right.
actually supposed to articulate himself to these objects,
Right.
to these birds.
Right. Like Noah didn't go and command the animals to come to the ark. They just showed up.
Right.
Ezekiel is literally being told by the Lord, go speak
to the
on
birds.
behalf of me to the birds and the beasts and let them know. Like, I'm just imagining him going out into the woods and going, hopefully you can understand me, but just a heads up, the Lord is coming and he's made a feast for you.
Right.
Come on out.
Right. Hello.
Golden Corral over in the Valley of the Bones. Let's go head out.
Hello, Raven. Do you have any friends? And are you a known gossip? Because I don't know how to get a hold of all of you. But I'm supposed to tell the birds.
Is there some bird grapevine in which you can go and talk to the other birds and let them know that the Lord's making them dinner?
Now-
what a weird deal.
Now, here's what's interesting. Is that like, one, obviously this is for, as a reader, this is
Yes.
for our benefit.
100%
right?
yes.
There's something about God is engaging creation and preparing it. It tells it's a deeper story, not just to say, hey, I will bring judgment upon these people.
Right.
But it will be so extensive that I'm going to have to call in reinforcements to deal with it. As a matter of fact, the picture we get of the vultures, there's a belief that like God will send an excess amount of vultures to go eat up bodies.
Right.
I think that's a bad reading of both Matthew 24.
I was going to say, I thought that was Matthew stuff. Yeah, okay, yeah.
And Revelation. So apocalyptic stuff. I think it's not a right reading of it.
Okay.
But like, it's not unprecedented
Right.
that God would interact with creation based upon something he's either doing or going to do.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Okay.
I think it is unique. The question, I suppose, is there any reason to think that it's not literal? It could just be written for our benefit. I think that's possible. I think it's just as possible. In fact, I probably think it's more likely that sometimes God sends the prophet to do things where you're like, is this even doing anything?
Right, yes.
But out of obedience, prophets do weird things.
True.
They do sign acts. They do all kinds of stuff where like, I've been sitting on my side for months.
Ezekiel did some weird stuff in the beginning, too. Like, there was a situation where he was supposed to, like, essentially pantomime and escape through the wall over a day for the people. Like, he was meant to be like, you should be seen sneaking a pack of stuff through the wall by the people. Do it in broad day so that they see that.
Yeah.
And like, this is meant to be a message to like, you will be like, this is how the Lord will deal with you and stuff like that. There's another situation, Ezekiel, where like God tells him to, I can't remember the specifics here. It might be like bake bread on dung.
On human poop.
On human dung, yes. And then Ezekiel's like, but does it have to be human dung? And then the Lord's like, fine, it can be a horse.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
I don't have to go right now.
Right, exactly. I'm like, oh, cool. As long as it's not human dung anymore, now it's horse dung.
Yeah.
Bake your bread in its presence, or literally like on it, and then eat of the bread. And I was like, whoa, maybe not human dung. And I'm like, what is happening right now?
Right. And so is based upon those two examples, you think to yourself, is that outlandish? Like, good Lord, the Lord said, look, I just want you to I want you to do the thing.
Yeah, right.
I want you to speak it. Now,
it will mean something.
Here's the thing. My encouragement here, and this is for me too, is that like, there's all kinds of things where you're like, as a human, you say, hey, does this matter?
Yeah.
I mean, do you know that it doesn't? Like,
it's a fair question.
I mean, I don't want you to speak to the birds because you're trying to have an active conversation with the birds. But like, if you're gonna pray, could you pray for the birds? Sure. Could you go pray out loud to them and around them? Hey, I pray for you guys.
Right.
I pray that God will provide, and whatever, you'll be comforted. I mean, it's just interesting to think about. Here's the other consideration. How else is this? Let me rephrase. Let me reframe it. I think this is not about like, if he does this, he tells the birds and the birds go, okay, I got it. High five.
Right.
High beak. Let's go.
Yes, right.
Let's go do this. It is God telling him to go do something simply so that his eyes are open to that it's being completed.
Right.
Right. It's a revelation of which then you get to see, oh, God's moving.
Yeah.
Because you go, I don't think this does anything. The birds don't even speak Hebrew. And then he goes out there and he gives his prayer off. And then if you saw friggin' 8 birds go fly over that direction, you'd be like, wow. I know, whatever. They're not going to drink blood right now.
Right.
But like, there are some things of which your obedience results in your ability to see God work.
Yeah.
Not that it caused God to work.
Right.
It's just your eyes were open to the fact that like, not only God's got this whole thing under control and he's working it from all angles. Let me show you.
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
it's that. So you know what? But my inclination is to believe that Ezekiel actually did go do this.
Okay, that makes sense, and I appreciate that. And that's it's been interesting. Like I've read like the major prophets back to back to back now, and it's the first time I've ever like. I feel like a lot of the studies I've done have been either like chronologically read your Bible or jump around to here to here to here and, grab this random topical thing about forgiveness that's in 15 different books.
Yeah.
Rarely ever do I find myself going from start to finish, book to book to book, spending time like long weeks, months in prophets. And it's like, okay, what do I, and the interesting question that I've been asking myself is like, if this is a book that is much less about who am I, and much more about who is my God and who am I in light of that revelation and understanding.
Yep.
And all of this is meant to be, I know more about my God based off of his interactions with his people. It's definitely been a different way to read than I've ever done before. Because I'm like, if 90% of this is God's identity as it is told through these stories of his interactions with his creation.
Yep.
And then maybe 5% is who am I in regards to this God that says that I'm made and created by him and in his image. And then the last 5 might be, what am I supposed to do with both of those sets of information?
Right.
And how do I run with that? And it has been a totally different realm of understanding and reading that I have never felt before. And it's been so awesome. Like, such a cool book. Or what a weird way to say that. Such a cool book to read. Have you read your Bible recently? But like,
it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. There's 66 individual books, but like, it's been interesting because like what hit me is how historically bad I've been at reading my Bible. Like, I'm just not good at it from a disciplinary perspective and from a relational perspective of like right-sizing what I'm trying to do. And it hit me like a freight train maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That was literally like, so my dad passed away. We all knew that like now 14 years ago. If I had a book of Sean that was all about who he was, I would read it every single day. Yep. I would be stuck in that book because I would want to know more about his life. And I would want to memorize as many stories as I could and figure out who I am based off of what I knew about my dad. You couldn't pry that book out of my hands.
Yeah.
I've never once thought my Bible is literally the story of our Creator God and his love for us through that. And how he exists and interacts and how he does things. And what am I to know of myself from that? It's been such a cool time.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
okay.
I got one last one. I think this one will be quicker. This week I'm in Hosea.
Okay.
And I'm trying not to laugh, but I laughed very hard when I first read this. This is a very serious book. There's bad things that Israel has been doing for a very long time, being adulterous towards God, not fulfilling their covenants, just awful stuff. This is generation after generation. Now we have Hosea in chapter 3. He says, "And the Lord said to me, go again, love a woman who is loved by another man and is an adulteress, even as the Lord loves the children of Israel, though they turn to other gods and love cakes of raisins." So we get this story in chapter 3 where Hosea is being commanded to go love a very unlovable in that society person and take her in as his wife. And like, there's some heavy themes here of like God speaking of adultery, but then, and that's taken very seriously culturally. And there are laws that are very strict about adulterous relationships and things that have to happen in light of that. And God literally at one point in time says in this book, like, I won't even hold these adulterous women up to the standard that you would expect, because the fact is they're married to men who are just as adulterous, or just as adulterous, excuse me. And then you get this verse that's like, they love other gods and they also love raisin cakes. And I know that I shouldn't find that so funny, and I'm sure that there's something cultural about that, but I will tell you that I laughed very hard because I kept saying to myself, you love other gods and those raisin cakes. Those raisin cakes are a problem. The two things, adultery towards other gods and those friggin' raisin cakes. What is happening here?
Yeah. So they're connected.
Oh, I was not expecting that.
Yeah. So he's not saying two things. He's saying one thing. You love other gods and raisin cakes. Meaning you should think of the raisin cakes as an item present at a sacrifice.
Okay, that makes sense.
So like
I was not thinking of that.
And I think we can get it if you look at that. So this is using the old Blue Letter Bible, and if I look up that Hebrew word, the other place that it is used is in 2 Samuel and 1 Chronicles, which is essentially the same reference. It says this is when David is dedicating the temple. It says then he gave a loaf of bread, a cake of dates, and a cake of raisins.
Yes.
To each person in the whole crowd of Israelites, both men and women, and all the people went to their homes.
Right.
Now, I mean, yes, he's giving out food to people, but like it's in a contextual worship setting.
Got it. Okay.
And so I think the critique here is that you are celebrating, worshiping, sacrificing raisin cakes as part of your worship of other gods.
Got it. Okay.
So I think that's what it is.
I figured it was going to be a quick answer like that, but I was embarrassed at first, but then I was like, this is real reading where I'm like, I need to understand this more. And I'm going to ask about this of like, what's going on with you adulterous people loving other gods? And man, you got to quit with these raisin cakes.
Yeah.
It's like, is this a calling out for gluttony? Like, is this a problem where they're like, these raisins might be culturally bad because only friggin' the Chaldeans raised raisins or grew raisins? Or I suppose grapes, dried grapes. That was a dumb thing to say, raised raisins, but whatever. Okay. But I appreciate that. It was the most recent one as I was reading through this because I'm like, Hosea is heavy. Like, it's one of the heavier prophets that I've read where it's like, obviously, you get a lot of stuff in the major prophets that's like moving through multiple kings and multiple kingdoms and all these things where Israel is adulterous and is running away from God, even though he's proven over and over again that he is still going to be steadfast and forgiving and loving and like will constantly and has constantly won battles for them and trampled enemies underfoot. But then you get Hosea where it's flat out like, y'all are messed up and you are so far from me. You are so far from me that, like, name your children that I'm not your God anymore. And it's like, whoa, that is heavy stuff, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was certainly, it was a gut punch where I'm like, this is heavy. And then out of nowhere, I get like, and you, with those raisin cakes, you got to stop it. And I'm like, okay, cool. I got to ask more about this.
Well, it almost feels like it's targeted at like one dude in particular. So, hey, look at all you guys worshiping these other gods, and you, Stan.
Yes, right, exactly.
And your cakes of raisins.
Philip, we know about your raisin cakes. You got to stop. You're sneaking them during temple. Stop it.
I made it myself.
But they're really good. It's not even dates. It's fruit raisins. Oh, my gosh. Okay, fair enough. I appreciate that. All right, that's what I had for Ask the Pastor today. I had a couple things within the minor prophets I've been in. Well, minor and major prophets that I've been in, and I'm sure I will have more in the next coming weeks.
Awesome.
So, cool. Awesome. I appreciate that.
You're listening to Live from the Path. Hey, if you guys have any questions for Ask the Pastor, give us a phone call or a text message, 515-517-0085. If you're lucky, we could read your suggestion on the air. Or
what was that?
That's my Nathaniel voice. Or we'll just I'll do my best to answer it over the old chat. Whatever.
Awesome.
Whatever works out best. Okay, I can't remember. Did you have one other thing tonight?
I mean, I've got Dear Life from the Past.
Okay. Let's do them. Let's give some advice.
Okay. All right. Dear Live from the Path, is there any way to end the holiday newsletter? Every Christmas, I get one from a particular family member, which invariably includes a list of their glowing accomplishments, expensive trips, etc., accompanied by lots of photos. Nobody else in our family sends these kinds of letters, and I don't know how they feel about receiving it. Last December, I couldn't even read it because it made me so depressed. My siblings and I are all in our 60s and 70s and spread out across the U.S. We have diverse lifestyles, incomes, etc. Most of us can't afford the kind of vacations this sibling writes about. Many of us also have personal, painful things going on in our lives, which we don't really want to discuss. Is it better to just not read the newsletter? I don't believe this sibling means to be insensitive, and I don't think I could ever bring the subject up for discussion. I just know I'm already dreading December's letter. Please let everyone out there know, no more holiday newsletters.
What?
So is there... The question is there a way to put an end to this?
Can you tell everybody in all situations and circumstances.
Shut it down.
We should stop with the newsletter.
No more holiday newsletters ever.
Because you are months in advance anxious about getting a newsletter from someone in your family. It sounds like because you're like, shut up with your passiveness. You're jelly. You're jelly for whatever their situation is. And like the reality is you're 60, 70 or 70 years old. Like you're like everybody equally has things going on.
Right.
Everyone's parents are dying. Everyone's friends are starting to die. People are getting hurt. People are losing jobs. People are retiring. Kids are causing trouble. People are getting pregnant. Like whatever. Pick one.
Yeah, statistically, you probably have enough of a family tree at this point in time that there are some rotten apples. Everybody's got some rough stuff.
And so, like, let's start with the simplest thing. Just don't read it. If you don't want to look at it, as soon as it comes in, just go, oh, I know what this is, and throw it away. I did that today. I was gone for 2 weeks. I took my vacation mail. I looked at the outside of most of my mail and go, I don't care to read this, and I threw it away directly. This is within your power. Go ahead and do it.
But what if your brother Charles goes, hey, did you read my newsletter this year?
No, I threw it out, Charles. I don't like reading newsletters.
Leave me alone. Don't answer. Okay, fair enough. I mean, I think that's fair. I think there's no reason to have a conversation. If you're going to be like this, which, whatever, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that there's probably rough stuff going on in your life. But that does not mean that you have to, like, openly put a friggin' kibosh on all newsletters and then go, I hate this person, and they're so insensitive with their letters. Even if they are being, braggadocious, they're sending a newsletter, and part of their brain might be, I want to love my family and send them and update them on their grandkids or their, grand nephews and nieces and stuff like that. So,
well, yeah, I mean, like, there's probably a general principle here where you don't go, like, if your posturing in life is to go, I'm not very happy for whatever reason, thus I can't take in other people being happy. That's the unhealthy part.
Yeah,
it's not true. The newsletter's problem.
Right.
You should, like, I have friends and acquaintances, people who have considerable more resources or time or whatever than I do, and some of them get to do some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about your cool stuff. Hey, check out this cool thing I did. Sweet, man. That's awesome. That's great for you. Like, I'm not mad because I'm not jelly. And so, like, I would don't deal with the newsletter problem. I think you need to figure out, like, if a newsletter is enough to bump you out, one, you need to work on your relationship with your siblings. And two, there's probably stuff you need to work out personally so that you can handle these newsletters coming in. But like the newsletter really isn't the problem. It's you. Yep. And I mean, I don't mean that to be cruel or anything, but like you got to recognize that you should be able to be happy for them in their success. And so if you have barriers to that, I just don't take the rest of the world with you. Figure out the right paths to kind of work through your stuff so that you can be happy for people who you are supposed to know and love, and that they're doing fun things. Yeah,
no, I think that's totally fair. You are worth more than the lies you're telling yourself that put you in a place that you're so, like, built on sand that, like, anybody else's happiness is just rough to see.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You know, one other thing I would say, and this is probably a broad caution, but this has come up in my in some other conversations over the last few weeks, is that you do have to be super cautious about how much you prescribe the things that are going on with you onto other people.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, I think it's perfectly all right to go, look, I'm a curmudgeon, and I admit that about myself, and I don't want any newsletters. Take me off your list. I mean, that's okay. It's a far different thing to go, hey, tell everybody no newsletters anymore. Like, what do you mean?
Shut down the whole thing.
You're not the leader of a rebellion. Like, you just don't like something personally.
And if you are the leader of rebellion and this is the way that you've chose to ignite your rebellion, I have news for you. It is not going to catch fire.
Get the word out to the interwebs. We're stopping with the newsletters. Right. I just, like, I like, there's a humility in going, hey, I really care about this. Maybe other people will, but probably not.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like, it's okay to take a personal stand. It's very American to say, hey, I will do my own personal thing, but like, my right stops at the ability to, you know, to swing my arm stops the ability to hit somebody in the face. Just don't look at the dang newsletter and leave everybody else alone.
All right. Secular says, many folks send holiday newsletters because they are an easy way to stay in touch with friends and relatives they don't see or communicate with often.
Unlike Facebook.
The letters are often polished up, even embellished. because everyone wants to present their best image.
Also unlike Facebook.
Because these communications are often welcomed, I'm hesitant to advise readers not to send them. However, because you find them depressing, either shred them unopened or delete them if they have arrived electronically. Shred them.
These are aggressive.
That feels very aggressive. Like don't only throw it away. You need to shred it up to the point where it is unrecognizable as a publication any longer.
Lest you get drunk later and try to piece it back together.
Eliminate this so that you need some lexicon that allows you to be able to understand it in the future when you've had too much brandy in your eggnog. Oh, gosh. Okay. All right.
That's aggressive. Just say, hey, discard it. Don't look at it. Or save it for when you're feeling more jolly.
I read them 5 years at a time like I do my taxes. Dear Live from the Path, a month ago when I invited a coworker to a concert happening next month, he was so excited to go. But we had a big disagreement at work, and since then, we haven't found a way to get along. At this point, it might be more awkward than fun to go to a concert together, but I feel stuck. If I take back my invitation, he can hold that against me. If I don't take it back, it could be an incredibly awkward night. Am I missing an option? What should I do?
Yes, you're definitely missing an option. Buva, would you suggest a third way of which this might go better?
No, these are the only two things I could think of, is you either eliminate it entirely or you go and it's just awful.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are the only options, Ben.
That's true. I just am spitballing here, just something in the back of my mind.
Oh, okay.
Is you could attempt to reconcile this relationship and go in a jovial fashion.
I should have thought of that. I should have thought of that. Why didn't I think of that third option? It really felt like on the polar opposites were the only it.
Here's the thing.
It's either north or south. True north, true south.
This doesn't it seem like this is actually a very easy way to have this conversation. Like sometimes you end up in arguments with people and like it's super awkward to bring it back up. You just don't even know how to get past the thing.
Yeah.
And it's easier just to kind of let it sit for a while.
Right.
And hope something relatively normal happens of which you can both then mutually agree you just moved on. Okay? And so, but that's not going to happen here because you're up against something. So here's the deal. You have a very easy way to pull this person aside and go, hey, I'm wondering, are you still interested in going to this concert? I know we've been having some problems here, and I thought I'd ask.
Right.
Start the conversation, then they go, yeah, I'd still like to go. I said, okay, man, I don't want it to be awkward. How can we work through our stuff? Is there anything I can say or do?
I'm super curious about what a big disagreement at work means. Like, what? Like, is it you disagree on the politics of Nepal? Like, is that the big thing for you? Like, no, that's definitely not a problem.
Yeah.
But or is it like something along the lines of like maybe the person is lazy at work and you can't stand them any longer? I don't know. I don't think I care too much, but like, I'm curious. I really want to know what happened.
I really think that an unfree Nepal is actually to their greatest benefit. What are your thoughts?
Right, like, yeah, is it super politically controversial in that situation of like, no, Tibet should absolutely be underneath Chinese rule. Like, no doubt about it. You're ridiculous. Don't free Tibet.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Okay, so, I suppose, yeah, alleviation of the situation could just be being an adult.
Why don't you try to reconcile to start? And I frankly think that this is a good option to do so. You get to bring it up. I would ask them. There's no reason for you to have to set it all up and pre-plan it. Like, just go ask them. And then take the temperature of the room, man. Maybe they hadn't even thought that far ahead.
Right.
And here's the thing. I don't know, reasonable people don't want to go into awkward situations and spend it all.
Agreed.
And so, either will bow out on their own, or they'll go, man, I really want to go. Yeah. I should reconcile. It's okay. It feels like a crude example, but it's like sex, frankly. Like in a normal marriage relationship, you reconcile because one of you wants to get it on. Like you get into some kind of tricky situation, and sometime or other it's going to take a day, take 3 or 4 days, but like somebody's going to want to have some sex, and you're going to be forced to deal with your situation. And it's right. It's just something that makes you do things that you're otherwise too stubborn to do.
That is interesting comparison.
I'm just saying, it's the one thing that happens in that relationship of which it's best to reconcile before the things happen. And so you got to deal with the things that are outstanding.
This is so incredibly telling of some situations, and I'm terrified that this is going out on the internet now. So that's super fun. As that is your comparison, Ben.
Complaint line. You tell me that ain't going on. 515-517-0085. If you're only on the audio podcast, I'm putting this thumb up and I'm leaving it up. Now, here's the thing. If you tell me, Ben, I think that's only happening in your marriage. You keep screwing things up and you eventually want to get back with your wife and you think, well, I better fix this. If that's just me, fine. I'm willing to hear that that's just me. I don't think so, though. I think this is happening. I think this is happening with married people everywhere. They're like, look, I'm kind of stuck with this person. This is the only place where I can get this type of attention. I better
fix it.
I better put the dishes away and resolve whatever problem I got outstanding.
Oh, boy. That's a thing. Okay. All right. Secular says, if you disinvite your coworker, it will create more bad feelings at work. If you follow through, the concert may provide an opportunity for the two of you to resolve your differences.
That's what I'm like, sex.
I think it's worth a try.
Is that what you always say?
No.
Buva's slogan, sex, I think it's worth a try.
My in-laws watch that show. Christmas is going to be a little weird this year.
Whatever. They do the same thing. I'm just saying.
Oh, come on. Give me some shot here to leave this Dear Live from the Path segment with any dignity.
If you're Troy's
in-laws,
I want you to text this in the complaint line.
Oh, gosh. I'm super excited to hear about this in the family chat. All right. We got time for one more.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm on fire.
Oh, gosh. Dear Live from the Path. My dad always wants to know what I'm doing and expects me to help him all the time. I invite him to events I'm having. I help him often because I'm his translator. Oh, geez. Since his English isn't very good. We moved here almost 30 years ago.
Okay.
My dad does not do the same for me. I'm never invited anywhere, and he never wants to tell me things. It's like pulling teeth to get an I love you out of him. How do I approach him about this without upsetting him? He's a very sensitive person.
Is he, though?
What, along the lines of what you just said before this, do you have to say to this child, to their father who does not show them love?
Well, I would be cautious. I mean, he sounds like a dude to me.
What does that mean?
Like, he sounds like a fella, like a dad who loves...
looking like a man.
Who loves his child and who, like, asks, hey, what are you up to and how can I support you and blah, blah, blah. But, like, who doesn't call his kid and go, hey, I'm going out to coffee with a bunch of other old fellas. Do you want to come along? Or like, here's the random crap that happened to me during the day. I just, that seems kind of like a man thing to do, is what she's describing.
Interesting. Okay. I definitely didn't take it that way. It seemed like this seems like a schmuck of a dad. Like, this person seems like they're asking for stuff from their kid all the time, but they're never reciprocating. Like, the kid literally feels unloved and unappreciated.
Yeah, but she said he doesn't tell me what his day was like, or like what's going on with him.
My dad does not do the same for me. I'm never invited anywhere, and he never wants to tell me things.
Yeah, but okay. It could be wrong. It could be rough behavior by the dad.
Yeah.
Or it could just be dude behavior.
Okay.
Like, I think it is not uncommon for fellas to heck, I think I see this even, it doesn't even have to be like older fellas. They're just, stuff happens during the day and there's just people, they just don't go sharing with it. As a matter of fact, this happens, I hear a lot of things that will occur within our church community. And the ladies will be chatting about it. Like, they'll text each other and they'll get it, like, and I'll know that something interesting happened to one of the dudes, but I'll only know that it happened because it came up in the ladies' chat, and then my wife shared it with me. These
That's
fellas,
a very valid point.
They didn't call and be like, hey, guess what? In fact, these people never call me. These are my closest friends and in church community, and they don't call me up and tell me something happened. And so, like, I think it is kind of a dude thing to just accept something happened. They tell the person that's in the room with them at the time.
Yeah. And
then they may not bring it up again to somebody else. Yeah. And so I wouldn't take that particular thing personally. And they like doesn't invite me out somewhere. One of the considerations is does he know that you would be interested in going with him?
It's fair. It's a fair question.
He might be like, I got a daughter. She's 20 years younger than me. I look at her. I just presume she's got her own life and her own friends. Yeah. Why would she want to come out with an old fella like me?
Interesting. And
so maybe I would start. Let's with no other information. I would start with the presumption that he doesn't recognize that these things are valuable and important to you.
Right.
In fact, I presume the mom's not alive.
It doesn't say that, but
it kind of feels like it.
Yeah, possible.
I mean, whatever. She was probably married to this man. Probably had the same problem. He's just not super forthcoming and doesn't know that. In fact, there's all kinds of things I do in a given week that like it wouldn't occur to me that my wife would enjoy, and so I wouldn't bring it up. And so why don't you start with presume that he's not doing this intentionally, and make it clear to him that you would enjoy spending time with him and you are interested in his life, and just it may be like pulling dentures a little bit to get him to share.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that to take it broader, fellas, I'm talking to you, realize that like if you have ladies in your life, it sometimes is important to try, and I emphasize try here, and put yourselves into their brains of how they take things in. Like, because you may just be a sturdy oak stand kind of fella where, like, you never say I love you to them, but their cars always have an oil change. Or, like, they always have the air in the tire. Or you put food on the table and stuff like that. And that is your way of showing love by taking care of them practically or something like that. I'm not trying to drive a stereotype. I'm just saying there are plenty of fellas like that out in the world. Sometimes it can mean the world to other people in your family if you take a step back and go, okay, how do I make certain that they know that they're loved versus the way that I would show it or want it shown to me? Yeah. How do they want to feel it and have it felt to them? And so just take a step back. You can, I mean, if we're talking on the grand scale of brownie points and stuff, you can frickin' win a day if you just notice that your lady put forth some effort and like really tried to look pretty for work today or something. Like, it's crazy when you just go, wow, you look fantastic. And not like you look much better than you did before, crap like that, but just, babe, I love you so much. You look amazing today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Yeah. It could frickin' paint their whole world in amazing colors to just make a statement like that. Just saying.
Yeah, and it's probably a good thing to think about is you can find out what is important to people by how they treat you.
Exactly.
So like if you find, and in fact, I was thinking about this earlier today. I probably got a handful of people that check in on me every week, every couple of weeks. Hey, Ben, how's it going? Hey, just checking in on your family, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I am awful at this.
Yeah.
I am just awful. I barely I have a hard time getting back to these. Like, frankly, like they're happening often enough that like it's difficult. I'm just busy. And so I don't get back to some of these things. And I feel so bad because like these are people who I care about. They care about me. They've taken time out of their day to just check in on me.
Right.
And the reason they're doing that is when they think about what would make me feel loved and cared about is if someone did this to me, so I'm going to do it to other people.
Yep.
And so these are probably the same 5 people where, if I were to be thoughtful about them and reach out before they reached out to me.
Make their whole month.
Right. It means something to them, which is it's ironic because it means very little to me.
Yes.
That they're doing it, but it does tell me that they are thoughtful people and they probably value that type of thing. Yep. And so that's how they show love, how they understand love.
Yep.
And so dudes are harder, older dudes especially, like they don't show love very easily. So it's very difficult to tell how it is that they see love, except for to your point, like they do things by acts of service.
Right.
Like, hey, man, I bought enough tools that my children will not surprise me. Exactly. Whatever they got going on, I have it.
Yep.
It's there. It's there to be borrowed. It's there to be used. I took care of my family.
Right.
Now, you won't trying to take care of you. Actually, what I said, it doesn't always work because if you then try to reverse and take care of your dad,
he'll be like, I'm a grown man. I can handle myself.
Exactly. So like, I just I just recognize how people are behaving, but like it tells you something. And so it's a good place to start. I think that's right.
Totally fair. Okay. All right. Secular says, it seems your father is not only sensitive, but also secretive and entitled. What? Most relationships are reciprocal. His relationship with you is not. This could be because of the culture in which he grew up. Because this bothers you, you need to tell your father how you feel about it. Nothing will be resolved unless you do. That's harsh. Like, I don't know if having a difficulty communicating love is different than just not having it at all.
What was her? Maybe I misunderstood this. What was the description we got about what she did for him?
My dad always wants to know what I'm doing and expects me to help him all the time. I invite him to events I'm having. I help him often because I'm his translator since his English isn't very good. We moved here almost 30 years ago. That's when it flips to he does not do the same to me.
Yeah, she invites him to things that she's doing.
Yes. Also, we don't know she. But
could be a dude.
Could be a dude.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I think that's presumptuous to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, if the man needs help, if he's an older, I guess I'm presuming he's an older gentleman.
I mean,
maybe not.
We moved here almost 30 years ago. We, meaning that the child was probably at least already born. And
yeah, so he could be 50.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think it's presumptuous. And I'm guessing, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. It could be that he's, sexist or like,
yeah, could be
whatever, all kinds of things. But
it doesn't seem to point that way. But
I don't think
be.
that sniffs right, and I think secular may have misread.
Yep, I agree.
Misunderstood the situation. Okay. Hey, you've been listening to The Life in the Path. Thank you for hanging out with us. We really do appreciate it. We love your feedback on the show. 515-517-0085. Call or text, and you're going to share your proselytization stories, whether you've attempted or someone's attempted on you. We also, I want some validation. I mean, is it right to think that sexual relations are a reason that marriages reconcile? I can't believe this is a
No one has ever said that wasn't Bill Clinton. So bad. 515-517-0085. Please support me in my disgust for how Ben is handling this situation.
I've been wrong before. I just don't think I'm wrong here. Okay. We're gonna cut this thing off. We'll see. The rest of the fellas might be back, doggone it, the next time we get around to another show. In the meantime, be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Path.